Sebring, 1957. All the things that are particular to Sebring. The flat, roasted countryside, broken only by shady groves of orange trees, barren cattle ranches, spotted with sickly pines, an occasional stream wandering through cypress avenues to a large, still lake. The town itself, dusty, a little more humid this year, with the pungent odor of mimosa lingering in the streets, and out-of-towners clearly marked by gallons of perspiration and exhausted faces, if not Bermuda shorts and gaudy sunglasses. The local hotel keepers, somehow retaining the aura of Victorian stolidness in their establishments, busily counting their money under lazy fans in dark lobbies. Sebring, 1957. All the things that are peculiar to Sebring. Racing cars, of course, blasting through the streets and down the roller coaster towards the track. A remarkable abundance of 300 SLs and Bentley Continentals, reviving one's faith in a rich America. Puzzled mechanics, sporting Pirelli coveralls, struggling with English, or rather American, a decidedly different breed of cat. The elusive Fangio, the effusive, busy Moss, the ever-present and always slaving Cunningham, Portago with his red and yellow practice car, the MG team doing a nice job of shopping at the A&P and bar hopping with the competition cars, Count von Trips sporting a black and yellow Ford convertible, chopped, channeled, underslung, twin-tone mufflered, and a 5-gallon Stetson. And naturally, talk, 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 in all languages. The Maserati people, who speak Italian, French, Spanish, English, and Texan, were brooding about the chances of their new 4.5 lasting the distance. Portago, with Ferrari of course, had a few opinions on the 4.5, typically brief and definite.
You think the Maserati can last for 12 hours, the 4.5?
No, I don't.
Peter Collins, Ferrari's team leader, had little confidence in the 4.5.
It's never held together yet, and personally I should be very surprised if it holds together ever.
And Phil Hill was practically skeptical.
Do you think the 4.5 is going to last?
I don't think so, but it might. Who knows?
So, half the official Ferrari team put their individual feet squarely into it. In their defense, it must be said that there were other similar comments from other teams. Here's Mike Hawthorne of Jaguar.
Well, I don't think the 4.5 will last the race, the big one.
Jim Kimberly.
Tell me, do you think this 4.5-liter job of Fangio can last the whole race? That's the $64,000 question. Anybody can answer that question for you, better than I.
Count von Trips of the Ferrari team.
Then anyway, there's the 4.5 Maserati, which is a very, very fast car, and if this car will not break down during 12 hours, I think it has the greatest chance to win the race.
Speculation about the monster was not encouraging, and even Fangio himself, usually imperturbable, stern and unsmiling, reacted to leading questions about the car. Here's his answer to a question about brakes.
Eso es lo difícil aquí, porque es un circuito a base de frenos. Esperamos que tenga.
He expects that everything will be all right and the brakes will be okay, but because that is the hard scene here in this circuit.
Paul O'Shea, who seems to be the only man who can do justice to a 300 SL in America, was one of the Corvette drivers.
Which of the cars are you driving? I believe I'm going to drive this red one here. It actually hasn't been decided.
What is that, fuel injection?
Yeah, all fuel injection.
They're all fuel injection.
Yeah, but this is some kind of a futuristic styling on it. It's quite pretty, actually, I think. Goes quite well.
Does it?
Very well.
I noticed they're running several different kinds of Corvettes here today. Can you tell us about which?
Well, they're running a space frame car, which they're calling their SS.
That's the blue one?
That's the blue one inside, which is very light. It's a wonderful effort on their part. I hope they have a lot of success with it, because I think it's a great thing to have an American manufacturer get so interested in our sport. Now they're running this red one here, which is more or less a styling car. It is modified. The engine is modified. The brakes are modified. The chassis is a modified version, and as you can see, it doesn't resemble too much of a regular-looking Corvette.
Well, it's a Corvette.
But it's a Corvette. And then they're running two absolutely production cars for the Gran Turismo, in the Gran Turismo production class.
When did they start designing and building this SS, do you know?
I really don't know that much about it, Bill. It's kind of I suppose that they're going to see how they make out with this one, and then see where the future lays from there, I suppose.
Do you know any performance
On the car?
on the car? Any performance?
I know they've gotten around here in about 3 minutes and 26 seconds, which is about 3 seconds faster than the lap record last year, which is very good. Of course, there wasn't any traffic on the road or anything, but it's still commendable.
How about acceleration? That's probably pretty phenomenal, too. isn't it?
Acceleration is entirely up to the adhesion of the tires on the road. In other words, you can spin wheels however you want to. The suspension is very good, too, in the back, so you're getting quite a bit of traction.
You know what the top speed is?
Actually, I don't. I would venture to say that they probably intend to run here somewhere about 145 miles an hour. Quite short straightaways here.
Fairly low rear end. Probably.
And put in a low rear end. I think you gain more here by forgetting about top speed and worrying more about stopping and going, you know?
There's a lot of money riding on this race.
I guess there is.
In town, at the Pontiac garage, we spotted what appeared to be a flashy Ferrari Roadster with a low windscreen and a flimsy black top. We asked Peter Collins about it, and he explained that this was one of the team cars, complying with the new FIA regulations. There were other regulations more difficult to comply with.
We've come over here and so Maserati on the regulations they sent to us, which don't mention anything about using the spare wheel in a tire change. They now issue an appendix to the regulations which says that the first pit stop must include the use of the spare wheel. Well, now both ourselves and Maserati have different size wheels and tires on the back as opposed to the front. So in other words, we can't put a front wheel and tire on the back. So as far as we're concerned, if we come into the pits with a flat back tire, we're not allowed to change it.
That's rather absurd.
Which is absurd, and not only that, you're not allowed to bring out an appendix to the regulations without the signed, well, at least within 36 hours, I think it is, of the closing of the entries.
That's an FIA regulation.
Yeah, that's an FIA regulation, Appendix 6, Section C. And if you want to change these things, you have to get the signature of all the competitors, and if one competitor doesn't agree to it, they can't do it. And we're trying to do this now. We're all pretty mad about it.
When do you think it'll be resolved?
Well, right now, by the noise Ugolini from Maserati is making.
And who's he making that noise with?
Everybody. Well, all the people that matter. You know, Chief Fitzstewart now and Alec Ullman, I suppose, eventually. And Mr. Tavoni, who's the lawyer from Ferraris, he's going after it as well. But you see, from our point of view, if we came into the pits with a bent, buckled, smashed rear wheel, and we had to use as the first wheel change a spare wheel, we wouldn't be able to put it on, so we should just have to stop there. But the Corvettes and all the other entries from the, I won't state the country, have got the same size wheels on the front and back.
Well, sounds like a General Motors plot. I've been hearing a little talk that the course isn't as fast this year as it seemed to have been last year. Do you remember it all, or do you...
Yes, it doesn't seem to be so fast to me either. There's a lot of patches on it that have got much more slippery. One particularly at the bottom end of the fast straight. First and second fast straights, the one that divides the two up.
What would account for that?
Well, there's a lot of water being allowed to lie on it. It still does lie on it, and when you get water lying on concrete for any length of time, it becomes it gets covered in sort of a greeny, mossy stuff, which gets ingrown into the concrete and much slippery. And also the tire wear seems to have gone up a lot since last year. They've resurfaced the course in one or two places, and there's still a lot of bad bumps, which have gone worse, I think, since last year. I don't know whether it's because we're going faster or what it is, but the course seems much bumpier than it was before. Also, I don't think they have the barrels and the marker barrels in exactly the same position as they were before. One thing I'd like to say, I think these 50-gallon oil drums they've got everywhere, they ought to be burnt in hell as far as I'm concerned. I think they're very, very dangerous things. Because if one car hits and another one's following, it's happened to me once, the one's landed on me, and a 50-gallon oil drum is no light thing anyway. I think we could do well without those, especially when somebody gets, if they run out of brakes and have to go wide on a corner, they're going to run into straw bales, and those 50-gallon oil drums is a very, very bad thing. That's one thing about the course this year that I think is very, very bad indeed.
Thanks, Peter.
Back at the track, practice was about to begin, and waiting drivers were willing to talk. Here's Phil Hill.
Phil, what are you driving today, as if we didn't know?
One of the works Ferrari 3.5.
Which one?
Number 14.
Is that one of the new ones?
No, it's one of the, well, it's new. The chassis is new, but the engine is a modification of what we ran last year in Europe. 12-cylinder.
The chassis is new.
Yes, the chassis is new.
And what characteristics does it have that are going to help you today?
Well, they're just a little different than they were before, that's all. I mean, I couldn't really tell you. I find I don't have the time to go into these things anymore.
Why, you're getting to be a prima donna.
Seriously, they're just changing all the time, and I used to keep right up with what they had done when they changed the spring rate or something, but now it's just impossible.
Who are you driving with?
On trips.
Oh, the Count.
Right.
How do you think you're going to do today?
Well, all we can do, we aren't as fast as the new cars, but all we can do is hope to outlast them and keep plugging away.
What are you lapping in, and what are the new cars lapping in practice?
Well, I'm lapping in 35 and 34 and 33, but I've got another few seconds in reserve, but I think we'll probably run right around there today. And the other cars are a good 3 or 4 seconds faster.
Where do you expect competition to come from, Maserati or Corvette?
Well, I'm not sure about Corvette. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Corvette right out front for a while. But all we can do is just forget about them, really.
You didn't drive it, did you?
No. But they're an unknown quantity. We know that they have a few problems, like things getting so blazing hot inside the cockpit that the pilots can't stand it, things of that sort. And so all we can do is just let them fall by the wayside, if they will.
And friend Fangio and Moss and company, what do you expect there?
Well, they'll probably be up front for a while, I would expect. Or at least the one in the 4.5 will be, I think.
Portago, hands on hips, cigarette between his teeth, was waiting while the mechanics fussed with his carburetors.
You fellas going to take this one this year?
Well, we're going to try to.
Which car are you driving, Fon?
Number 12.
That's the quadruple overhead cam?
That's right, yes.
Can you tell me a little something about the car?
Well, I don't know much about it myself. I've only driven it 4 laps in practice yesterday.
How do you like it?
That's not bad, it's all right.
How are you, what kind of speeds were you lapping at?
I did 328.
328.
Yeah, but I wasn't pushing it very high. I think we can get down to about 324.
Last year, you fellas had some trouble with brakes here, didn't you?
No. Well, we came in first and second.
Yes, of course, but wasn't there some brake trouble anyway?
Well, all brakes fade out in a 12-hour race.
Have you done anything about that at all?
Our brakes are greatly improved this year.
Is there anything specific you can tell me about the improvements?
Well, the brake drums are bigger and larger in every way.
And where do you expect some of your big competition to come from today other than Fangio?
Well, I think the Fangio in the 4.5 Maserati and Mike Hawthorne in the D Jaguar will be in the lead for the first 3 or 4 hours. And but I think by the time the race is halfway over, we'll be back up there.
What did you think of the? You've been seeing this SS Corvette. What do you think of that car?
Well, it's a new car, and it's very difficult to give an opinion of it. I think it must be pretty good.
Did you talk to Fangio after he drove it?
No, I haven't seen him.
We spotted a Ferrari technician measuring the track surface temperature. Luigi Canetti, usually the one-armed paper hanger around the Ferrari pits, found a few minutes to explain this to us.
Luigi, could you tell us why they're doing it?
Engineer Morotti says just to conform the tire pressure to the weather condition, the heat of the track, the warmth of the atmosphere, and also to adjust the carburation of the engine itself.
I see.
And also because we know in this way the wear of the tire wear, you suppose 1/10 of an inch if the temperature is a freezing condition, and maybe 2/10 of an inch if it's at 80 degrees. If it's 120, go by the square. So it's so important to know the temperature of the track himself, of the sun.
I see.
It's part of the technical preparation.
That's very interesting. I see you've got 9 Ferraris here, Luigi. Are you responsible for all of them?
Well, as a Ferrari representative with naturally Mr. Engineer Morotti, Mr. Tavoni is becoming the factory team manager. He's a very young engineer of the factory. It's the first time he's out of the country, but he's a very brilliant young man, and sure in the future he's going to make himself well known as a racing team manager. And we hope to have a very good result with a new one, the efficient too, in our factory for many years.
How do you like that new 12-cylinder quadruple overhead car? Do you like it?
Technically, it's very interesting, but naturally it takes easy one full season before it become very good. It's quite improved since the first time he raced in Argentina, but it's still a long way to go. But behind we have the old single camshaft, very, very reliable car. And we hope this one is a car in the last 24 hours also.
How many of the cars, the 9 Ferraris are here, are actually factory prepared and factory entered today?
4.
What do you think of that Corvette SS, that new Corvette?
It's a car really made tremendous improvement since he started first 2 years ago, and I'm pleased to see an American factory get interested, not in our sport, not because of the sport himself only, but because I believe the engineer of the Chevrolet Corvette, very intelligent and to know is only through competition you may improve not only the production of the standard car, but maybe also of the army truck or tank or airplane engine. That's why I was always interested in my life in this type of sport, because besides being a fun for us, it's also technically very, very interesting for the United States of America, the largest automobile factory.
Do you think that SS has a chance of winning?
It's still an experimental car. Naturally, to win with a Corvette, we needed a very, very intelligent driver. And I think the actual driver they have, even being very, very good, they are far from the Fangio competitors. But he has a big possibility too.
Oh, thank you very much, Luigi, and good luck today.
Thank you.
Here's Roy Salvatore, one of the brilliant newcomers from England.
Mr. Salvadori, tell us something about this car you're driving today. What kind of a Maserati is it?
It's a 3-litre Maserati, the 6-cylinder 3-litre. It's a very good car. First time I've driven the 3-litre Maserati.
First time you've driven a 3-liter?
3-litre Maserati.
What other ones have you driven?
The 2-litre Sports and the Formula One car, the 2.5-litre Formula One car.
Who's splitting the driving with you today?
I'm driving with Carol Shelby.
Carol Shelby. Is Fangio and Moss going to drive that 4.5-liter job? Or
I'm not sure.
There are rumors that it's going to be pulled. It's going to be withdrawn.
I don't think that's so.
You don't think that's
No.
so? Do you think that if it does run, that you think it can last the whole race? That's one of the problems with that big one, I understand.
Well, it's proved very reliable so far, but it's a long race and it's a hard race here.
Yes. Who else is driving for Maserati this race?
Berra, Fangio, Moss, Shell, Carol Shelby, Bonnier, Scarlatti, and myself.
How do you like the course?
Very good. Bit of each. A bit of an aerodrome circuit and a bit of road circuit.
Last year you drove here. Who'd you drive with?
With Carol Shelby.
Tell me, where do you go from here?
Back to England for the Alton Park motor race.
I beg your pardon, I didn't hear you. Old Shelby came over. Hey, come here, Carol. Get in on this, your teammate. You're driving with Salvadori, aren't you?
Yeah.
How do you like your car?
Pardon?
How do you like your car?
Oh, pretty good.
Do you think you're going to beat your boys, Moss and Fangio, too?
I don't know. We're going to try to finish.
You're going to try to finish, of course. What do you think of that SS Corvette?
Oh, it goes like stink, doesn't it?
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
Do you think it's going to last?
That remains to be seen. You can never say that at this early a game.
How do you like to predict this race? Where do you think the real...
I say that there's more luck in this race than any race in the world, so it's too difficult to try to predict.
Tell me this. Has Maserati made special precautions on their brakes this year?
Yes.
They have. Can you tell me what they've done?
They've taken the big 4.5-liter brakes and put them on the 3-liter cars.
Do you think those 3 liters are going to be able to stay with the 3.5 liters that Ferrari has?
Well, I'm not so sure on sheer speed, but at the end of 12 hours, I believe they'll be there.
Well, the very best of luck to you, Carol. Nice seeing you.
Thank you again.
Baron von Hunstein, who won the Targa Florio last year and who manages Porsche teams, told us about his entries.
Mr. von Hunstein. Is that correct pronunciation?
Yes, exact. That's it.
Mr. von Hunstein, can you tell me something?
If you want to be very correct, it's Baron von Hunstein.
Baron von Hunstein.
But we don't bother about the barons.
All right, well, Baron von Hunstein, tell me, if you will, please, something about your team. How many cars are you running?
We are running 2 factory cars. One Spider S-type Targa Florio and coupe, standard coupe, Carrera coupe.
Uh-huh.
And apart from that, we have 4 American customers in the race.
I see, and you're supporting them, of course, with
We
the
are
pits.
giving them a technical and advice and
I see.
help as far as we can.
Tell me, who are driving the 2 factory teams, 2 factory cars?
Well, on the S spider, we're having the German champion Hans Hermann to start with, and I should be polite and should say Jack McAfee first because he's our guest. So we have the American champion Jack McAfee and Hans Hermann, American and German champions of their 1500cc class.
Right.
And in the second car, it was meant to be Johan from Guatemala, who has been driving quite a lot for us, and our first engineer, Herbert Linge. As Johan didn't turn up, apparently he didn't get an American visa. I have to jump in myself, and so I'm going to drive the Carrera.
Oh, very good. But now, one more question, if I may. I know it's not in the same class that you're running, but I'm sure you've been watching this General Motors product, this SS they've been running out here. What do you think of it?
I think that General Motors, and especially Arkus Duntov, who, as far as I know, is looking into it, has done a wonderful job. I can't tell you how happy we were in Europe when a big American concern like General Motors took up racing, because that has given a new impulse to the whole sports car racing, and I would be very happy if the Chevrolet has a chance of getting a good position in the race, although I know that for first time it might be a little bit difficult for them, but I really hope that all the efforts they have done will deserve a good place, and they will have it. And I wish Corvette the best of luck possible.
We couldn't agree with you more. In fact, we're hoping that maybe General Motors is going to bring Mercedes-Benz out of retirement. They'll have to come back with something.
Yeah, that might be the idea. If it's a big concern like that goes into racing, the other one has to follow.
Well, thank you very, very much, and the very best of luck to you tomorrow.
It has been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. Here's Dave Ash, the boss man of the MG team. Dave, can you tell us what's happening to your team this year?
Well, we seem to be in good shape. We hope naturally to be able to be lucky enough to repeat what we did last year, namely the team win. Cars are all right, and we're all keeping our fingers crossed.
Would you mind telling our listeners how you finished last year? It was beautiful.
As you remember, we pulled the cars in about 10 minutes before the end, and they lapped together and finished abreast. It was quite a sight. We're all very proud of it.
It sure was. Tell me, are these strictly production cars?
Absolutely. They have a few little things done to them, like different brake linings and so on, which a factory makes optional for racing, and anybody can buy.
How many cars are you running?
There are 3 cars in the team, one from Canada, one from Washington, D.C., and one from New York, our car.
Now, could you tell us who's driving each car?
Gus and I'm team captain. Gus Ehrman is number 2 man. On the second car, Steve Spittler and Bill Kinchelow, and on the third car, Rolly Keith and Ed Levins from Canada.
In your class, where do you expect your competition?
Only from Porsche. There's one fast car in that class, but it's a new car, and we hope that we can push him, make him break himself up.
Well, very best of luck to you, Dave, and thank you very much.
You bet.
Bye.
Colin Chapman is very likely the most brilliant designer in England today, and his Lotus cars have enjoyed success the world over. Here he is with one of his drivers, Doc Wiley.
Well, we've got 4 of the new Lotus 11 cars running this year. They're similar to the cars that we ran experimentally last year, but they've been developed quite a bit since then. 3 of them are 1100s, and there's one 1500 driven by Doc Wiley and Charles Moran and his wife Peggy here. They're all basically the same engine, a single overhead cam Coventry Climax, and the 1500 is an overboard version of this same engine. We obviously hope in our category, apart from trying to do well in our class, we are hoping to get a fairly high index figure, and we're trying for the index of performance.
Doc Wiley, tell me, where do you expect competition in your class to come from today?
Well, of course, we always expect it from the Porsche team, who are both fast and reliable. We have an Oscar and a Maserati, but we're the only British car in Class F. And, of course, being British myself, I shall do my best to uphold the prestige, not to mention Colin's prestige. And we trust that if the car goes the way our 1100 did last year, spite of a mite of difficulty towards the end, while we shall be more than satisfied.
How's your brake situation this year?
Well, last year we had a little brake fluid boiling, but this year we have some very high boiling point fluid, 420, and we trust that that at least will not recur. Colin himself has adapted the car so the cooling is better, and I think that too will be under adequate control.
Tell me, Colin, what do you think of this SS Corvette that's out here?
Well, I think it's a very good sign. I only hope it means that the American car industry is going to take up sports car racing seriously, because I do feel there's a tremendous amount of prestige to be gained in this sphere, particularly if they adopt the European style of racing, which it appears that they are going to. The car of itself is of a very advanced design and has been beautifully carried out, and I can see that these lads here are getting a lot of experience in this type of racing, preparatory to making an onslaught in Europe.
Doc, do you think that Corvette's going to finish the race?
Well, the highly experimental one, I wouldn't bet on it, but with pitch driving, of course, it has a chance. But the fuel injection ordinary ones, I suspect, will do very well, and will have a tremendous battle with the Mercedes-Benzes. Though I would again watch Jack McAfee and Linger in the Porsche Coupe, the 1600 Coupe, which has been going like a bomb and may well beat in the Grand Touring class cars of very much larger capacity, including even the Corvettes.
Well, thank you very much, both of you, and the very, very best of luck to you here today.
And of course, the champ himself, looking somewhat ridiculous with his badge reading driver.
How do you like the new Maserati?
¿Cómo se encuentra el nuevo Maserati?
Bueno, anda muy bien. Habrá que saber ahora si aguanta, ¿no? Si resiste.
That is okay, that he expects that will be ever since. Okay, no, fine.
What kind of lap times has he been doing in the Maserati?
Pardon me?
Lap times. How fast has he been going around the course in practice?
Yeah. Él desea saber cuál es el mejor tiempo que se ha hecho en la vuelta. ¿Usted ha hecho mejor o no?
Bueno, 2:26 creo.
2:26.
Would you ask him what he thinks of the SS Corvette?
Dice que quería saber qué tú piensas de los Corvettes.
Anda muy bien. Es una máquina que podría ganar aquí también.
He says that the Corvette is a good car, and he thinks that will be the winner too here. Has chance. Could be the winner. That's right. Could be the winner. Huh?
Would you ask him one more question? What his plans are for the rest of the year for racing? Who he expects to race with?
Dice cuáles son los planes suyos para el resto del año en carreras.
Me he comprometido a correr Fórmula 1 con Maserati. Todas carreras del campeonato del mundo.
The compromise is form number 1 in all the year with the Maserati.
And what about sports cars?
¿Qué hay acerca de los carros de sport?
No, yo vine aquí porque aquí probamos un nuevo producto. Vitalize se llama. Por eso vine, porque me interesa.
Dice que he come here to take a new product, Vitalize, that is the name. According with that, he is here.
Fine. Well, thank you very, very much. Thank you very much. Much luck.
Count von Trips was wandering around the pits, looking rather lost.
And here's our good friend, the Count von Trips, who is driving today for the Commendatore Ferrari.
Yes, for the old man Ferrari, as we used to say.
The old man Ferrari.
Old man Ferrari, that's the expression.
That must be a beloved expression.
Yeah, we like him. He's a nice man.
Well, tell me, what car are you driving today?
I'm driving one of the 12 cylinders, one of the last year's cars with the 2 overhead camshafts, and it runs very well, and it's not as fast as the new one, but it probably will stand the whole race.
You think the new ones might not take the whole race?
Oh, yes, they might, but you never know if it's a new car. We had it in Argentine, but down there it was so hot, so the car didn't work out very well, because the training in Italy can't be compared with the race down there, where the degrees were double as high as in back home, And because of that, this is now, let's say, more or less the first time where they really get into action, and we will find out.
Who's your co-pilot today?
I'm with Phil Hill.
You pleased, I would gather.
Oh, yes. I think he's very good for a race like this. He is said to be very soft on the car, and he's not going hard on brakes. And if there's someone who will bring the car over the 12 hours, it would be him, I should say. And therefore, I'm quite pleased to be able driving with him together.
Tell me, have you ever driven with Phil Hill before?
No, I haven't driven with him, but I have been in the same race with him, and he won just before my nose, so to say, in the Grand Prix of Sweden, which was my first start on a Ferrari sports car.
So he was driving with Trintignant, wasn't he?
He was driving with Trintignant, that's right.
And who were you with?
I was with Peter Collins.
Peter Collins.
Mm-hmm.
In your own team today, considering that you do not have the best cars here, you and Phil, which of the other two cars do you think stand the chance of winning the race, perhaps, or both?
This is very difficult to say this year, because we saw last year that the Jaguars have been very, very fast, and they had a chance to do it when they were not running out of brakes. So I think they will have done something, and the brakes will be better, and we will find out what they're doing. On the other side, there are the Corvettes, which are really in a tremendous speed around this track here. They were driven by Fangio well, but the other drivers, the American drivers, Fitch and who it will be, they are even good, and we will wait and find out how they will stand the course. Then there are the Maseratis, which is the 4.5, driven by Moss and Fangio, as far as I know.
No, not Moss.
Not more?
Fangio.
Oh.
I don't know who's driving with Fangio, but Moss is driving a 3-liter.
Oh, I didn't know this. They change that very often. Any else? There are the 3 liters and 2.5 liters Maseratis, which are very good. Which are very good on the road and even powerful to do fast laps. And so there are, let's say, more or less 4 makes of cars and 4 different kind of cars which are able to win the race, you know, and therefore it's very, very interesting for all of us to see what's tomorrow night at 10 o'clock going on here on that spot we were just standing now.
Do you think... Well, do you think you have any chance at all of winning, you and Phil, considering...
Oh, no. Look, you never can say that. You never can say this, you know, because when everything else will break down and burn out the engine or something will happen, then it may be that our old car will win, you know. But I don't believe in it, you know. And I think for me, myself, I like it much more going into a race just like this, you know, and say, okay, do it, and you will have fun and you will have a nice race, and don't think about maybe winning it. It's much better because if you are, let's say, in a car where everybody says this will be the winning car, then you are nervous and you are ambitious and you are keen and you drive like mad maybe. And so we will have a good ride, and we try to finish the race. And, well, let's say when we are over the first half of the race and we see that cars get tired and sick in the front, then we maybe push forward. But I should say, no, I don't believe there is a chance for us.
At the Maserati pits, lap times were being excitedly discussed by Moss, Harry Schell, Carroll Shelby, and Roy Salvatore.
Yeah, but you can't normally, you can't flip out here while over here, this V thing there is just ridiculous. Yeah. Well, look, the first gear you normally... That's what I mean, the V. Cannot be put more than 5,000. And then you lose a lot of time. You better pick it up to 6,000 and you break it. The V is what I'm talking about, sir. Oh, well, you just sit there. There's nothing you can do. You lose at least 3 seconds then, don't you think so? Yeah, I think so. You do 3:32, you do 3:29, 3:28. That's not very good. Anyway. What is now? I don't know. What are the others doing? Well, 3:33 the Jaguar. I think the track's slow. Yeah, I'm saying 2 seconds more. What about doing the big one? 3:26. Well, I can take 5 off that easy. Easy. Hold up. I will have another go in it. I'm going to have a go.
We finally drew Moss away from the group.
Well, let's get around to your car, that 4.5 liter. No, I'm not driving the 4.5 liter. I'm driving a 3 liter. What is it? Has it been withdrawn? Pardon? Has the 4.5 liter been withdrawn? No. Fangio and Bear are driving it. Oh, I see. We switched drivers. I know it's the fastest car here because I think it would do 3 minutes 20 quite easily, which is a lot faster than the 3 liter. But I've done an awful lot of running with the 3 liter and have more confidence perhaps in its chances of finishing. I may be wrong. The 4.5 may finish. I hope it does. And you're really gambling points this time, aren't you? Yeah, it's a gamble. We
noticed that when you and Fangio are on the same car, neither one of you could make much progress on the other as far as the international point standings go. But this way, why, it's quite a race even within the team.
No, we won't race within the team. I mean, I want to win the race, he wants to win it, and the main thing is that Maserati should win it. As far as I'm concerned, I've got a rev limit which I intend to stick to, and if people pull away, or if I pull away, or whatever happens, that's the way I intend to run my race.
Are the brakes any different this year?
Yes, we've got 4.5 litre brakes on the 3 litre car, which does make a very big difference. Whether they'll last or not, I can't tell you, but it certainly stops.
Yes. What other observations do you have about your competition? How's Ferrari and
Well, I believe the Ferrari has got a 3.8 litre, 2 of them, in fact. They're going very fast. I think they've got a very strong team. I really don't know so much, the race like this, so much does depend on consistency of one driver to the other and so on, that it's too early to make any idea, guess at what might happen.
Perhaps it all sounds pretty grim, this devotion and dedication to motor racing and cars, but there are moments of levity.
And here we are with the Ferrari yo-yo team. Would you care to give a play-by-play description of this fun?
Well, we're terribly worried about our ability to work the yo-yo. We're not thinking about the race yet.
Where do you expect the competition to come from in the international yo-yo competition?
Well, I think Peter Collins and Olivier Jean de Bien are the 2 best men on the yo-yo.
I don't see you working well. You must have done a lot of secret practice.
I'm tired right now.
Right. What do you think of the Corvette yo-yo team?
Well, they've got a lot of horsepower.
And indeed, the whole Ferrari team had equipped themselves with yo-yos and were diligently practicing. No race would be complete without Jaguars, and Briggs Cunningham is the man who makes them run.
Briggs, how does this Jaguar team of yours look today?
Well, they're all running on 6 right now. That's about all I want to say on that.
Well, tell us who's...
Not as fast as some of the other cars. That's, they're a little bit old and not quite as modern and
a little more reliable.
Well, we hope.
Tell me, have you solved the brake problem that was the bane of your existence last year?
I don't know. We're going to find out today, I think.
Do you have different brakes?
We have changeable brakes on the fronts, but not on the rears. And we can change the fronts, but the rears have got to go 12 hours.
Well, I understand some of the corners have been changed slightly on this track from last year. Have you noticed that, and will that make any appreciable difference to your brake wear?
I don't think so, no. They haven't been changed enough to make that much difference.
I see. Tell me, what's the lineup of your team? Who's driving which cars and what combinations?
Well, Bill Lloyd and myself are driving 6, and Walter Hanskin and Russ Boss are driving 7, and Mike Hawthorne and Ivor Bueb are driving 5.
Is any one of those cars specially tuned or more highly tuned or in any way?
Number 5 is a later car. It was the car that the factory ran at Le Mans last year with the fuel injection and the quick change brakes on both front and rear, and that's the only one I know of that type.
Are you planning to go through on one set of tires? You're going to change several times?
I don't think we can do more than about 2 hours on a set of tires.
You're going to have
figuring now.
About 6 tire changes?
I think we'll have quite a few. The way we're planning on that to start. We're planning on probably not over 40 laps anyway.
Wow.
That's according to the rate of wear we've had in practice. Of course, after the cars lay some rubber on the corner, it won't be too bad, but...
You're going to have a high factor.
Yeah.
It's going to be very hot today.
I'm afraid we're going to use tires.
Tell me, what do you think of this SS Corvette that everybody's talking about?
Looks very nice. I've never driven it, but it certainly looks good. They're certainly on the right track, I think, with the chassis and suspension, and I just hope it stands up now for 12 hours.
Yes, indeed.
And of course, Mike Hawthorne, replete with spotless white shirt and black bow tie.
Tell me, Mike, what do you think of the Jags you're driving today?
Well, they're much faster than they were last year, and I hope these new Dunlop brakes, they'll be able to put up with the bashing we give them. We've got changeable pads this year, which we hadn't got last year, and so when they were worn out, we'd had it, but I think we'll be all right this year.
Where do you expect most of the competition to come from?
Oh, well, Maseratis and Ferrari, obviously.
Of course. Any special cars, especially in that Maserati crew?
But 3 litres, which Sterling Moss is driving, I think that'll be well up. And, of course, the 3.5 litre Ferraris will be there all the time.
Tell me, where are you racing after you leave here? You haven't been doing as much as you used to race.
No, well, that was last year when I was BRM. The thing never ran, so I never had a chance to race. But I'm with Ferrari this year, so hope to get a lot more racing in.
Oh, very good. The very best of luck to you, Mike, and thank you very much.
But talk is, after all, only talk. and has very little to do with lap times. Lap times are the result of practice. Practice, practice, practice. Two D Jags seem to do an excessive amount of running up and down. Here's one of the Corvettes out practicing. March 23rd, 1957. Race day. Beginning at 8 o'clock, with the sun slanting in low over the hangars, the sleepy crowds beginning to mull about, wandering through the pit area, the tension begins to build. By 9 o'clock, frenzied officials are dashing around on motor scooters, and drivers are beginning to take up frozen positions near the cars, waiting. By 9:30, the loudspeaker has begun to broadcast urgent last-minute messages.
Miss Stewart, it is your duty to clear out the area of the pits of unauthorized people. Miss Stewart, proceed to placing cars in their allotted grid. Your attention, please. Hank Waller or Marion Edwards. I can flagmen are not all in their stations. Hank Waller or Marion Edwards. Will you please see that all the flagmen are at their stations?
Mr. Portado and my dear friend Taruffi will listen to me, I'll be very short. And Mr. Cunningham, attention please. I have something very brief and short to say. You're all experienced drivers. You don't need any briefing. You know what you're doing. Remember, passing right and passing left on this course is permitted. Slower cars will all bear to the right and stay out of the way. And remember, practically speaking, there's 65 starters and 64 are really slower, aren't they? So let's all think of that. You may position for turns wherever you wish, but always have due consideration for the fellow behind. I especially plead with the slower cars that they should watch the rear mirror. We do not want to have an accident here. I know everybody understands that. One more thing, we'll give you synchronized stop time, and when Mr. Lane, who will start you off, will be counting from 10 down to 0, and that will give also your chronometer a chance to set their watches correctly. I have to make an announcement that the Ferrari entered erroneously car number 11 is at 11 and 12. The information was withheld, but thanks to the interference of the FIA stewards, they insisted to divulge their correct displacement, and it is 3,800 cc. 3,800 cc for cars 11 and 12. Monsieur les conducteurs de voitures plus lentes, je vous prie de bien faire attention et de maintenir votre position à droite quand vous faites doubler. N'oubliez pas que nous ne voulons pas avoir un accident. Je suis tout à fait persuadé que les conducteurs de voitures plus lentes savent bien le règlement. Je vous prie de nouveau de suivre attentivement votre miroir rétroviseur. I wish you all a good race. I want to remind you drivers, we're all meeting this evening when this little affair is over, and we hope then to exchange pleasant remarks. And I wish you good speed. Avanti. The start will be given in the center right here, so that gentlemen starting from over there and over here will have to see the signal in the center.
The center where?
Right where I'm standing, Master Gregory, and good luck to you, sir.
30 seconds. 25. 20. 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Peter Collins made a brilliant start and was through the first corner almost before anybody else had pulled out of line. He turned in his first lap a full 10 seconds faster than the second-place man, Moss. Berra in the 4-5 Maserati was close on their heels. It's quite evident that Berra has plenty in hand and seems relaxed in the car. The start was not nearly as spectacular this year as it was last year. Many cars seemed to limp away, sputtering and backfiring. There's an omen in this someplace. Jean de Bihan just came into the pits, having trouble with the door of his Gran Turismo Ferrari. Overdid his Le Mans start, evidently. Already the cars are beginning to string out, the Ferraris, Jags, and Maseratis out in front, the Triumphs, MGs, Porsches stretching out behind, and the little Renault Dauphines, which look surprisingly fast, bringing up the rear. The sun is climbing higher, and already spectators are beginning to sag and hunt for shade. At 11, the SS Corvette had a bit of brake trouble a few minutes ago. Came into the pits with a good deal of rubber missing from the front tires. These were quickly changed and Fitch went on. One of the Cunningham entered Jags, driven by Bill Lloyd, is out already with a broken valve. Berra has just broken the old lap record with a 3:27. Collins is tenaciously hanging on to his lead, but Berra is only 2 seconds behind him. The positions at this time are Collins in first place, Berra very shortly behind him, then Moss, Portago, Gregory, and Hill. .11:30. John Fitch, after 2 stops at the pits with the SS Corvette, 1 for tires and 1 to repair the distributor, is stopped out on the course now. One of the Gran Turismo Triumphs is out with a broken clutch. Just after 11, Berra began putting the pressure on Collins, passing him on the 19th lap and setting another lap record of 3 minutes 24 seconds at the same time. Noon. One of the 1.5-liter Maseratis is retired with valve trouble. The SS Corvette is back in the race. Fitch changed a burnt-out coil out on the course, took him about 30 minutes, and the car is now approximately 20 laps behind the leader. Some of the drivers are beginning to change around now. West Coaster Pete Lovely has replaced Paul O'Shea in the big red Corvette, which seems to be running very well, turning in laps of around 350. Bueb has taken over from Mike Hawthorne in the number 5 Jag. Positions at this time are Berra, maintaining a lead of 1 minute over Collins, who is followed by Portago, driving beautifully and moving up. Moss in 4th position and Gregory in 5th. And quickly. While Berra, Hill arrives at the pits at 12:34, ahead of schedule.
What? I think some dirt got in the gasoline and clogged something up. Because it started and it's gotten progressively worse and worse and worse. Now only 4,000 revolutions.
Oh, bloody hell.
I think some dirt's got in the jets.
So, one mechanic replenishes the car, gas and tires, and the other fusses with the carburetors. And finally, Von Trips takes off.
What happened? Was this a scheduled stop?
No, our ignition failed.
Oh.
And we're on the second battery now with a dead generator.
With about 9.5 hours to go.
Yep, and that's the second generator that's been on this car in 2 days. So obviously something else is wrong.
What do you think?
I don't know.
I heard you say you can only get it to a 4,000 RPM?
That was why I came in. That only happened for a couple of laps. It was a dead battery. No ignition.
They replaced the battery?
We've got two. We carry two on the car, two systems. All you do is turn one on and turn the other off.
When will you go back in?
I doubt very much if I will go back in.
Why does Carl?
I don't know what kind of magic they're going to perform to get the other battery up to charge again. You see?
Tough luck.
At 12:49, Collins comes in and hands over to Trintignant. No trouble, just a scheduled stop.
Bloody hot, that's all.
The brakes all right?
Yeah. The brakes are all right.
The track as fast as always?
Huh?
The track as fast as always?
Oh, yeah.
Any trouble on any corners? It looks like you had a good 3 hours.
Huh?
Looks like you had a good 3 hours.
Yeah.
Okay, Pete.
As it happens, Collins just missed some very serious trouble in the S's. Bob Golditch, driving one of the Team Arnold Bristols, came into the S's too fast and ran off the road. The car overturned and Golditch was killed instantly. .115. Berra just came in to turn over to Fangio, and the car was sent out again in about 3 minutes, never relinquishing its lead. A number of cars have now made their regular stops for gas, oil, tires, and driver changes. Hansgen has gone in for Boss in the other Jaguar entry, Boobs still being in Hawthorne's car. Taruffi has just changed with Fitch, and the SS is still in the running. The positions at this time are Fangio, Trintignant, Portago, Gregory, Moss, and Shelby, who is now beginning to move up. Correction, Musso has just gone in for Portago. .119. Von Trips in after 40 minutes and struggling in 3 languages, none of them his own, to diagnose his difficulty.
Come? Non riparte?
Pas d'essence, on a long ligne droite. On the straightaway. And when I come into the 4th gear, it's finished. When I slow down for a quarter, when the engine runs and the pump pumps the carburetor full of benzene, just after the corner, all right.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Peter, when I come into 4th on the straightaway, come down to a corner, I even can't shift because I can't, push the throttle. Behind the corner, first 2 gears, it's all right. But then it's over.
Screw both batteries in.
I did.
Made no difference.
No. It is typical no gas, Really, tutti. Oh.
Maybe they should put a little oil in the gas. We had that trouble 2 years ago. The gas is drier here than it is in Italy, The pump doesn't work.
Oh. È secco, un poco olio dentro perché la pompa non va. No, water.
Phil, I noticed Von Trips is out there and you've had a chance to rest for a minute. How does the car look? How's it holding up?
Well, I think either the generator or the voltage regulator has failed at this point. And I think we have both in the spare parts kit, I think. We're on the second battery now, the spare battery. But the brakes seem to be about the touchiest problem.
What's with the brakes?
Well, they seem to be holding up, but they take a tremendous amount of strength to push them. We had the same experience in Sweden last year. Only Trantagnon and I weren't strong enough to push the brakes hard enough to hurt them, and so our brakes lasted and we won. That's all the way it worked.
What you want to do is some sitting up exercises or something.
No, I haven't been doing setting up exercises. I've been doing some deep knee bends with about 100 pounds on my back.
Literally?
Yeah, honestly.
For how long?
Oh, I've been doing it about a month and a half now, just to build up my upper leg muscles. And it seems to have worked because I could go on indefinitely the way this car is today. And all the other drivers are complaining very bad.
That's fantastic. I've never heard of anyone doing that before.
No, I had such a terrible time in Sweden that I'm sure that they'd be the same way. I think Ferrari's probably the last ones to go to boosters of one sort or another. And so I've been doing these leg exercises very conscientiously. And I got tremendously strong legs now. I could push that brake pedal about, I think I pushed it 200 pounds worth all day long.
Two o'clock. More cars falling by the way. One of the Porsches is out with gearbox trouble. The Cuban D-Jaguar, the bright yellow one, is out with engine trouble. And the Jack Ensley D-Jaguar has just retired with a broken axle. The SS Corvette has finally given up. Overheating problems could not be remedied. Roy Salvatore has just taken over from Carroll Shelby, and their Maserati is going along nicely now in 7th position. At 1:48, Wacky Arnold withdrew the remaining 2 Arnold Bristols due to the fatal accident of Bob Goldage. At this point, Fangio is still leading. With a comfortable lead over Sterling Moss, still driving his Maserati. Shell must be getting impatient. Collins dropped back to 3rd position, Portago to 4th. Hawthorne is now making his bid for position, having moved up to 5th. And Lou Brero Sr. in Maston Gregory's Ferrari is holding down 6th nicely. Three o'clock. 15 cars are out of the race, and the remainder, probably figuring they'll make it through now, are settling down to the steady grind. Fangio is still well in the lead, and at the Maserati pit, many breaths are being held. So far, the car hasn't missed a beat. Moss finally stopped to let Shell dry, thereby dropping back to 7th and letting Musso, now subbing for Portago, into 2nd place. Hawthorne is holding down 3rd now, Gregory 4th. At 2:40, Brero came into the pits suffering from heat prostration, and Gregory took the wheel. But Brero seems to have recovered now. Plantignon is 5th, and despite difficulties which are building up rapidly, Von Trips is hanging on to 6th position. This is probably the hottest part of the day, and just about everybody, except the drivers, is seeking shade, a rare and much valued commodity at this time. Orange juice and beer sales are at a peak. Von Trips into the pits, still in trouble, but retaining his sense of humor.
Il est plein la réservoir. Però non marcia.
Tell me. Tell me about the car.
Look, I changed this a couple of times. Once we run on the one side,
and battery. And then on the other.
No, that gas
fuel
thing here.
Okay, all right.
You know?
Yeah. What about the brakes? Are they as bad as ever?
Perfect.
Oh, they are. Miserable thing to drive. Miserable thing to drive, isn't it?
It's not bad, but after 2 hours, I switched this thing, and off he went.
You want me to get it in, brother?
Yeah, it didn't run anymore.
Are you kidding?
Yes, it stopped, you know. And I think it's benzene. Yes.
Oh, I thought it was too when I came in. They said the battery was dead. You know, our dynamo's ruined. Did you know that?
And off goes Phil to try his luck. .319. Portago comes in with brake troubles, apparently serious, noting the silence. The mechanics fuss for about 5 minutes, evidently without much success, so Fawn gets in and goes off.
What's wrong, Barney?
No brakes.
Paul, we see you're still in the running, but the SS isn't. Can you tell us what happened to that big one?
Wait a minute. What happened to which one?
To the SS.
I really don't know. I guess they had brake troubles or something. They weren't stopping so well.
I know they were out once with a distributor trouble, ignition trouble, and I guess that wasn't.
Yeah, but they fixed that.
Yeah.
John Fitch had to stop on the side of the road and fix that.
Now tell me, how's your car running?
It's running quite satisfactorily now. I just came in. We're having a little brake trouble too. It's quite heavy, you know.
Yeah. What position are you in? Do you have any idea?
I don't know where we are. I guess we're in the first 15 somewhere.
Oh, fine. You happy with the car's running?
Yeah, it's quite a fast car. As long as we can keep stopping it, we'll be all right. Boy, this is a long race.
Brakes are beginning to give out for everyone, except, of course, the 4.5 Maserati, which is going as fast as ever and building up a substantial lead. At 5 minutes to 4, Mike Hawthorne comes in with a D-Jag. In 6 minutes, the mechanics changed the brakes. It was brake failure that ruined Hawthorne's wonderful drive last year, and Bueb goes off. Alfred Momo is duly proud of this brake change.
How the Jag they're really pretty good at this present time. We just have number 5 in, and we rewind the brakes. It took exactly 6 minutes and 3 seconds.
Oh, that's fabulous. Where are your cars running right at this minute?
The present I do not know. One I think is in 6th position. The other was in 2nd. After this pit stop, I do not know what position it is.
Are these brakes the answer to last year's problem?
I think so. I think this will give us a little advantage over the other field.
How many cars did you enter?
We entered 3 cars.
And how many are still running?
2.
What happened to the other one, Alfred?
He dropped a valve.
Dropped a valve. And who's driving the cars that are in now?
Ross Boss, Walter Hesgen, Bob, and Hawthorne.
At 4 o'clock, the halfway point, 17 cars have officially retired from the race, and many look and sound as though they wouldn't last much longer. The little 2-cylinder DB, which is usually so reliable and does so well on index, is out with a broken valve. 2 Porsche Spyders have moved up into 9th and 10th spots. Fangio is still leading. Mast and Gregory doing a wonderful job is 2 laps behind, with Bueb in the Jag a lap behind him. Musso is holding down 4th, Collins 5th. The sun is beginning to drop now and the heat to diminish a little. The crowd is settling down for the long grind into the night. At 4:09, Fangio comes in. The car is refueled, the tires are changed, and Berra goes back into the race. The big red Corvette comes in for a 5, and then an 8-minute pit stop for brake adjustment. Over in the Maserati pits, Carroll Shelby is looking a little sad.
Carroll, it's about almost 7 hours of the race is over. How are you fellas making out here at Maserati?
Oh, Maserati's in the lead as far as I know, Bill.
Which car is in front?
The 4.5, driven by Fangio and Berra.
And where's Morris Land?
I don't know. Nobody knows right now.
Now, neither do we. That's why we're asking you. And what happened to your car? How are you doing?
Well, we seem to be doing quite well, and I ran out of gas, came in, and we had a little difficulty in the pit. You know, there's a rule that you have to go 20 laps between times you put gas in the car.
Yeah.
And we forgot and went 3, so they disqualified the car.
Oh, so you're out of the race.
Yeah.
It's too bad, Carroll. But things look good for Maserati today, don't they?
Very good this stage, but anything can happen.
It's that 11th,
Hardest part to
11th
come.
hour.
Dan Gelfie, keeper of the 4.5, is gloating.
Here's Dan Gelfie, one of the, probably the finest Maserati mechanic in the United States.
Hey.
What's the matter, Dan? All right, just one question. We noticed a lot of pure castor oil. Are you mixing this with castrol, or how are you using it?
No, we are using it fully. Full castor.
Full castor oil?
Yeah, castor oil. As a matter of fact, we had to get some from
a wholesale chemistry or a drugstore in Tampa. It came down by coach yesterday afternoon.
Why do you decide to use pure castor oil?
Because we expected some kind of hotter weather. We thought we would run into difficulties with the oil that we generally use in Europe. We thought the weather would be around 100 instead. It's, what is it, 75 or something? Eh? Our temperature is around, I'd say, 225, 230 degrees Fahrenheit.
Are you satisfied with the way the cars are running on the oil?
Yes, we don't use much oil. We put some at when we refuel, you see, but that's only a precaution. And the car wouldn't really need any, you see. But we that's a procedure in order to.
How is that 4.5 liter?
I never thought it would run so nice. Yes, really. I didn't think it had that much guts. Yeah, it's really good.
Well, how are the brakes holding?
The brakes, just an hour and a half ago, we pulled them in for gas, and then we adjusted the brakes, the front brakes, but they didn't take much adjustment, and the pedal is nice and solid. We got plenty of them. We got lots of them.
At 4:34, Hill and Von Trips give up a well-fought battle, more against their car than against the competitors. After a routine pit stop, the car refuses to start and is officially retired. Five o'clock. Berra still 2 laps ahead of Gregory, and Bueb still 1 lap behind him. Musso in 4th, and Moss, after a pit stop that cost him several laps, back up in 5th. Six o'clock. Collins came in briefly a few minutes ago for a Coke. Things settle down a bit as the sun drops lower and becomes a vision hazard. Moss, heading into the hairpin, raises his goggles, shielding his eyes with one hand, negotiates the corner as smoothly as ever, and lowers his goggles, accelerating up the straight. The Gran Turismo Ferrari, driven by Jean de Bien and Greenspun, retired with a broken crankshaft, Greenspun pushing it the better part of a mile to the pits. By 7 o'clock, the routine driver changes have taken place. O'Shea has gone in for Pete Lovely in the number 2 Corvette. Shell in for Moss in the 3rd place Maserati. Plantignon for Collins, Portago for Musso, Hawthorne for Bueb, Brero back for Gregory after about 40 minutes. Don't know why. It's almost dark now. The lights are on in the pit area and the cars are cutting bright streaks through the night. The 4-5 Maserati, still in the lead, has 3 headlights, which on the straights grow coming at you and diminish going away with alarming speed. It hasn't missed a beat all afternoon. Hawthorne has put on the pressure and passed Portago into 2nd place, Shell having dropped back to 4th place. Brero is in 5th, and the Hanskin Boss car in 6th. The new Testarossa Ferrari, driven by Richie Ginter and Howard Hively, has begun to move up steadily. It has been sleeping, so to speak, all afternoon, but has now passed two of the Porsches into 8th place. A sort of lethargy has come over the pit area. The 4-5 Maserati is going on, Fangio at the wheel, and people seem just to be waiting for either the end of the race or something to happen to the car. The positions are unchanged since 7 o'clock. Fangio, Hawthorne, Portago, Shell, but now Hanskin passing Brero into 5th. Total darkness now and getting a bit chilly. Nine o'clock. Fangio's still out there. Now 4 laps ahead of the nearest car. Moss, making his last-minute bid, has moved up into 2nd. Hawthorne, after a stop for tires and gas, is in 3rd. And Maston Gregory has come back into 4th. Hanskin is in 5th, with Collins 6th. Portago came into the pits at about 8 o'clock and spent a half an hour there with evidently gas line trouble. A great pity, since he and Musso have driven such a brilliant race. Collins' car seems almost out of brakes now, turning in laps of close to 4 minutes. The little Porsches have made their effort and have forced the Ginther Hively Ferrari out of the first 10, holding 8th, 9th, and 10th themselves now. They also have the index prize sewed up, and have since about 4 o'clock this afternoon. .30. Fangio comes in for gas. In their rush, the mechanics spill a good deal onto the flimsy seat of the car. Fangio stands waiting patiently while mechanics and pit manager tear their hair out finding another. Then he calmly gets in and goes off. He still has a lead of 4 laps.
Hey, Fangio!
So, time and the 4-5 move on relentlessly, and 10 o'clock finds Fangio still out front. Moss has come in a neat 2nd, making up 2 of his 4 laps just near the end. Mike Hawthorne 3rd, he and Bueb having proved a remarkable team again. Berra looks immensely pleased, as well he should, having driven every bit as fast and reliably as the master. Gregory, having driven a magnificent race with Lou Brero, is 4th. With the other Jag, the Hanskin boss car 5th. Collins and Trintignant have brought their brakeless wonder into 6th, with the hard luck Portago and Musso 7th. 2 of the 3 Porsches have gotten 8th and 9th, the 3rd having retired at 9:30 with transmission failure, and the Ginther Hively Testarossa 10th. On index, the Porsches naturally have the first two places, with Colin Chapman and Shepard third in their Lotus, Moss, Shell fourth, and the 4.5 fifth. So, another Sebring is over. The fireworks have gone up, the car's been carted away, and tons of loose paper and orange juice cartons are the only inhabitants of the course. But the results have meaning. The Maserati 4.5 has performed magnificently and virtually trouble-free, and promises to provide an exciting season. The Ferraris proved a disappointment, and Commendatore is no doubt pondering this. The Jags put in their usual sterling performance, and the Porsches and MGs outdid themselves as usual. The little Renault sedans crossed the line 3 abreast, having done a remarkable job. But to most of us, Sebring is sound. It was nice this year to hear the V12 Ferraris back, a startling experience to hear the new 4.5 Maserati, refreshing to hear the now familiar Jags and Maseratis, the Lotuses, MGs, Porsches, Triumphs, Healey's, and all the exciting sounds that characterize this incredibly exciting sport. Nobody knows what next year will bring, but we can be sure it will be as thrilling in its own way as this year was.